Hello and welcome to the fifth Can of Worms episode of the Save It for the podcast. I'm your host Aaron, and I'm joined by
This is Barack Obama.
you again.
I'm just kidding. I'm Neiman. I'm not Barack Obama.
Oh,
I
damn.
tricked you, audience.
Oh damn!
Yeah,
Oh my
that was
god!
my.
Oh my god! Well, it was
Oh.
it was kind of in character though, since this can be considered a second term for you.
Exactly. It draws
There
many
you go.
parallels between
Yeah.
Obama's two terms. Correct.
Obama, get the fuck out of this podcast, Obama. It's time for me to make
Yeah.
America great again.
That's right.
All right. But yeah. So, speaking of fuck, turns out yeah, I know, one hell of a segue, am I right? So
mhm.
yeah. Turns out I actually broke the the no swearing rule of the Save It For The podcast in the previous episode, which was the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth episode.
My
I
goodness.
count it. Don't worry, I know how to count you all. But
He
yeah,
does.
there we go. There you go. Neiman vouched for me. So, and since I broke that rule, Neiman will punish me in a random point in this episode.
Yes, at some point, because
Yes, at some point. And even though I broke the rule twice, he's only going to punish me once because in the episode where we invited Franklin Duffy, you actually broke the rule once.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So that cancels one of the punishments out. So you can only punish me once. So use it wisely. Also, I would like to apologize if you guys hear a bit of a background noise. I did my best to avert that kind of stuff, but unfortunately, my AC has to be on at this time because South California has decided to drift into hell.
That's right.
Yep.
And I silenced the children in my basement, so you can't hear their screams.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
we're all good here on
I
this
was
end.
referring to my AC, but that works as well. That being said, though,
Yeah. Speaking of children,
speaking of
I'm
children, oh gosh, yeah, no, let's ew. Like for some reason, children actually like me, even though I'm like, midget,
Is that so?
midget humans. Like, yeah, I don't really like kids.
mm-hmm.
For some reason, they like me,
Yeah.
and like, since I'm like like I look at their puppy eyes, and I don't want to like hurt their feelings or whatever. I end up doing like, I end up being me, except not cussing at all. So
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, I don't know, I guess they think I'm like the funny older brother or something like that, but I hate them,
Yeah.
so it's like I kind of like scurry away when I see a child coming my direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you definitely do give off, I think, older brother vibes in terms of,
You.
just Aaron. Because you're an only child, right?
Yeah, but like I had to be like an older brother to my younger cousins for a good chunk of my life. And I still like act like that because they're a bunch of kids, and
Right.
like I need to be there for them, especially since we meet up for 3 months. We met up in like 3 month time periods when I was still living back in Turkey, and they came over all the way from France, and I had to be like, it was like, having an elementary child in like, in a knife factory or something like that. No, you can't go walking in the middle of the road. You will
Right.
get run over, you little shit. Come over here now, like that
Right.
kind. So it's like, and I still have to like be there to remind them that no, you can't go in the middle of the road. Come over here. So
Wow.
yeah, like
Look at that.
you you children.
That's
I don't
interesting.
like it.
So
Yeah.
I take it then you don't envision yourself being a parent, as of right now, at least.
I mean,
Still up in the air kind of thing.
still up in the air.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure though. Like it can, you know, que será, será, whatever will be, will be.
Yeah.
future's not ours to see. Que será, será.
All right. So yeah,
Yes. Yes.
we jamming.
We jamming.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, things change. So
things change. What about you?
in terms of the parent question,
In terms of parent question, being a not only child.
yes, being the middle child specifically in my family, because that's what I am. Being the middle child, ups and downs, blessings and curses, pluses and wishes.
That implies to all children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely to all children. I mean, I'm sure anyone with a sibling can attest, siblings are siblings,
Mhm.
you love them and you hate them kind of thing. It's very much, it's interesting now, especially since our family culture is very much so a not American in the sense of, there's like the typical American notion of, once you turn 18, you're booted out of the house, kind of thing.
I honestly was not aware that that was a thing until I actually lived in America, and I heard about the experiences of my friends around me and whatnot. So, ugh.
Right, exactly. And I think that was definitely something too that was a very large source of cognitive dissonance in my life. Especially, I would definitely, from my start of, starting to think about the college process,
Mhm.
One of the defining features and moments of that period of my life was coming to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to, be able to, quote unquote, have that college experience of, moving to another dorm, which,
Right.
Again, isn't a very, I guess, kind of almost fantastical. I don't want to say fantastical, but it's very much, and
It's essentially a movie concept, isn't it?
right. Yeah. It's very much
upbeat music, moving to the new
right.
dorm, meeting
Exactly.
your roommates, not getting along at first, but then, slowly warming up to them since they seem to be cool and
Exactly.
you seem to be cool, and,
Yeah,
having a romantic
exactly.
subplot and whatever,
Yeah, and
is,
all join the same frat and
there you go,
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea I had no idea what a frat was before I moved to America.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I still don't, but
Yeah, it's very much, and again, that's not at all to, discredit anyone who
right,
has,
yeah.
chosen to take that route, because it is, like we said, it's a very much a movie concept that a lot of people want to,
Yeah.
at least here in America, want to live through. And
Yeah.
so I'm not discrediting that at all. It's just, I guess I had a lot of misconceptions about college growing up, and especially having gone through the process. And my parents went to college in the Philippines, which is completely different from, applying colleges here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it's similar in Turkey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Similar in the sense that it's different from America.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I really didn't have, my parents to really kind of, I guess, ask about that, the American college experience.
Right.
Because they have very different, views on,
Mhm.
the college experience. And, a lot of my cognitive dissonance came from, on one hand, my peers and my friends and my teachers were offering this narrative of, once you get to college, you get to do, whatever the hell you want. And, you can, it's truly the one point in your life where you feel truly independent, but at the same time, the weight of society isn't, weighing down on you just yet. But and the other hand, it was the narrative that my specific family culture was offering me was very much, you're gonna stay home until you graduate college, and then that's when we feel you specifically
gonna get booted.
right, exactly. And it's very much
You're gonna get a job and a house and a wife, and then you're gonna get the fuck out.
exactly, yeah, it almost feels like that. There's a running joke in a lot of Filipino families of you can't get married until you can't get a boyfriend/girlfriend until you're married, which makes no sense, but that's the running joke, right? Because it's very much you focus on your education first and everything else comes after, which is similar in a lot of other cultures. But I guess what I didn't realize was that the American culture was again this idea of moving out and going to a different state and all that, and again not discrediting discrediting any of those paths that people want to go to, but
yeah, dude, I mean, to whoever is listening to this, you do you, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wish I knew before the whole college admission process was that there are so many ways to get so many different places, or get to rather so many different places, which I didn't realize. I think it was a combination of just my parents and then also being specifically in a high school in Irvine. Because as I'm sure you can attest as well, definitely the uni culture was very much linear in its options of what they deemed as success, which was basically get good grades, go to college, and become a lawyer or a doctor. And they really did not explore, in terms of like the culture, one thing I really did not like was the fact that at the end of the year, people were asking the seniors specifically, where are you going to college, rather than firstly, what are you majoring in, or are you going to college? Exactly, because that's assuming that we all have the privilege of going to college, which not everyone does, which unfortunately in Irvine was a stereotype that people had, that people were in fact going to college, which is not the case in all cases.
Which is not always the case. And by the way, the uni culture is the mindset that happens in places like University High School, which the place where we went to, the University High School Irvine. And it was really limiting, it kind of gave you a social claustrophobia in many cases. And I mean, it was for me especially, it was kind of a surprise element, mostly because here I was all the way over in America, right? And for some people, this was it. This was the end goal. You move to America, that's it. Congratulations, you have a successful life, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I still had that mindset. And after a while, it soon became clear that because I still had the idea of, the doctor, lawyer, engineer mindset. You can't succeed unless you're a doctor or you're a lawyer or you're an engineer. So I thought I was going to be an engineer for a long time. Okay. And when I say long, I mean long. You have no idea. So when I actually did come to America, and when I saw all the requirements and the criterias that I had to get into, and like all these different like universities that, you know, actually like technical universities that taught engineering and, you know, help you become an engineer and all this and all that, and I saw all those, you know, yeah, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, it was a
You
little bit
know,
of a
that's
turn off.
really, yeah,
Right.
that, yeah, a bit of a turn off. That's
Mhm.
one way of putting it. Hold on a second. But yeah, like, so, where was I going with that?
I know
uh,
yeah.
so yeah, like the high schools in like the high school itself did not help you at all to, like, you know, mold you into a person that can actually sense what they want to do in their life. No, they just want you to get into college and you'll figure out from there, bro.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. So so yeah, it was just I don't know, man. I mean, it can also be related to the immigrant experience. But I don't know, like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's a complicated topic, and we can always get into, you know, like we have dived into the education system before. We can always dive into it again, because no matter how much we, you know, chop chunks out of it, there's still gonna be like a buttload of
Mm,
problems that are
yeah.
left. So, I mean, yeah, American education system, not a fan, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was definitely, you know, one of the things too. I think what you said earlier about they were very much preparing you for college rather than success in life kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Um, which, it's again, like you said, it's a very complex thing to look at. Because again, that's not discrediting people who are going to
Mm-hmm.
college. That's just saying, that there were alternatives that people, didn't know of
Yeah.
going to high school, and I think should be more aware and shouldn't be discredited.
Right.
I think even, especially among the students too, I think, there is this, expectation that,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was in the same socioeconomic boat, who were all, going to, these fancy universities and
Right.
whatnot, which was just not the case. And it was most prevalent to me in AFB, because if you
Oh my
remember, I'm
god,
an
you're
AFB
in the
boy.
AFB. That's
I'm an AFB
right.
boy.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's
I often
right.
forget that some people aren't in AFB. And it's
That's
like, what?
right.
What even? You know, like
What
if you're not in AFB, what are you in? Like D&D
exactly?
club? Like what's
Yeah,
up with that?
peasants.
Which is not to say anything about D&D club, because I was in D&D club, so don't.
Yeah, and so was Charlie Fureborn. He was the
Dude, I
president, who was
know.
also on ASB.
He was awesome. He was
Yeah,
an
Charlie's
awesome
great.
fella. We never had a proper conversation, but he was an awesome fella, I could tell.
Which,
So yeah.
interestingly enough, I believe now another, because I think, because Charlie, if I remember correctly, was the, sorry, total tangent. But if I remember correctly, I don't know if
Total
we should be
tangent.
using his name, but it's all in good. It's all in good.
Yeah, it's all in good.
In good.
Charlie, we love you.
We love you, Charlie, if you are
Hold on, hold on.
listening.
Hold on. I love you, and I miss you. All right, that's it. That was just the
I
reference I
love
wanted to
that.
make. And like, now that I've made it, let's move on.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that was a reference that
Yeah. You
is.
don't know the meme?
I do not. I'm not familiar with that
Oh
meme.
my gosh! Oh my gosh, Neiman, how dare you? You!
Which reminds me,
You're
speaking of,
uneducated in terms of memes.
I know it's really bad. I need to work on my cultural literacy. It's one of
Yeah.
my.
Dude, internet culture is an entire topic all on its own, and
That's
it's a
right.
topic I'm not ready to get into because
Y-
it's scary.
It is very scary, and we can delve into it another time.
Yeah, another time, please.
But interesting you bring up memes. This is an actual connection that I'm about to make, but weirdly enough, this is going to sidetrack a little, but weirdly enough, I was watching a TikTok about it was basically a joke about future engineers, and they were basically, it was right at the start, or I think like 2 or 3 weeks into quarantine, and I saw this TikTok, and it was about this engineer who was taking this online test that was open book, right? And the joke was basically he was, looking at his notes to, finish the test. But then at the end of the video, it was basically showing all of these really bad airplane designs, right? That were just absolutely hilarious. Like one airplane that literally didn't have any wings, and then there was an airplane that I think was just, a big cylinder without, anything on it. And it got me thinking, right? And it was very funny when I watched it. But it got me thinking afterwards. I was like, they actually have a point. And the point that they're making is that,
they actually have a point.
They actually have a point, you see?
Yes.
Yes, you see?
What might be the point, Sir Neiman?
Yes, and I will tell you the point right now in this podcast that we're doing right now.
What might be a podcast? This is a proper conversation over there. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Quiet.
I don't know what radios are. They haven't been invented yet, so I don't know if they exist or not.
Radio. Oh, gosh. Okay. I love the little radio jingles, but anyway, that's a...
Radio jingles are...
Yeah, it got you thinking...
That's a whole can of worms.
Oh, my God.
So it got me thinking about... So I just took my finals, right? And I basically took 2 courses that were very memorization and concept / like midterm heavy, as opposed to a class like a math class, which is very like application based, right? So I was thinking about these finals, right? And like the nerd I am, I felt I know I am. I felt so guilty after each test, especially given that
Mm-hmm.
I'm a psychology major, right? And I was learning about psychology in these 2 courses, and we were talking about we were talking about memory and learning and how memory works and how to consolidate memory so that you learn things better. And I was basically doing everything except what we were supposed to be doing in terms of learning the material. And the reason that meme on TikTok really stuck with me is because I was thinking about why we value doctors, engineers, and lawyers so much, right? In terms of like, why we value them with as much prestige as we do. And that's because that there's a lot of application concepts and memory-based things that you have to understand alongside engineers, right? And for example, if you went to a doctor, right, and you ask them, okay, here are my symptoms, what's the disease? And they have to be like, hold on, let me check my notes real quick on my phone. And then they just Googled the symptoms and check WebMD. That would be a terrible doctor, right? And so that's why we need doctors to really have a good understanding of the material. And so it got me thinking about, all of these.
I feel like that's a really exaggerated situation, though.
Right.
Because let's be honest, even if like this is the current state of, like this is the current education system right now with the quarantine and whatnot, I sincerely doubt that any doctor in the future is gonna look into Google to see what the disease actually is, But like, I get where you're coming from. I don't really think it's gonna be a problem, though. I mean, like, because open note tests have been a concept for a while now,
Right.
and they haven't caused any issues. And like, I remember actually taking an anatomy class over in over in high school, and even then, even with like nearly every single one of our tests was open note,
Mm-hmm.
and I barely passed in every single one of them. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a matter of the individual, I think, because you
Right.
can pass in like a a unit test, or like a semifinal or something like that. But as long as there's a big ball doctorate final that you have to go through in order to actually become a doctor, I don't think that open note tests are gonna affect students in that kind of way. I mean, sure, they will affect them because let's be honest, everything in quarantine is gonna affect us.
Right.
But like, I don't know, that just seems a bit too much of a stretch to be seen as a threat to the future job market.
Yeah. I understand that. I know that open note tests are a thing, and that
Right.
I've literally, those are the only types of tests I've taken this quarter. And like you said, I do think it is very much individually based.
Right.
I think the problem comes from the again, the individual, and here's what I mean by that, right? So the science says that the science of learning and memory says that it's essentially repeated exposure and repeated practice of the material is what really consolidates understanding concepts of whatever you're trying to learn. The problem I specifically ran into was the problem of studying everything literally the night before and the hours, which I'm sure many people have done. It's a term called cramming.
Oh yeah, can't relate.
Right.
That's a lie.
Exactly, right. Literally every student has crammed at least once in their entire life. And that, according to the science, is not a good way to learn the material. It's through the repeated act of actually studying, which is where you actually learn the material. It's not in the tests. The tests is merely an assessment of what you've learned. The learning part actually comes from the studying, which I don't think a lot of people really understand until the later stages of their school career. And I think the problem with specific individuals comes from, if the individual makes the choice to cram, then they're not actually learning the material. And, so going back to the doctor example, because I guess the danger of tests, which again isn't really, like you said, it's not really, this is a bit of an exaggeration, but the danger that you can run into is, and anecdotally speaking, I don't have any empirical evidence for this, but anecdotally speaking, excuse me, anecdotally speaking, people, take shortcuts to complete things, which, I know, big surprise, people take shortcuts. But, I always thought about it, right? Growing up, and especially doing work in high school, I very much always wanted to be thorough with it, right? Because I, like the nerd I am, was genuinely interested in the kind of learning that I was doing. But, a lot of other people, I know, right? A lot of other people I noticed, were trying to copy homework, or, like literally write down word for word what people are doing, or,
I feel
trying to find, right. Or, or,
and some people are just trying to get through that crappy education system that we keep talking about.
Right.
Because I mean, like, when it comes to college, it becomes more of a serious crime, because it becomes less about, just getting through that one class that you keep getting a D in, to, actually cheating to get a career. So, but yeah, like, please go on.
Yeah.
I'm feeling dehydrated right now because
I just took that large gulp of water.
No, not because of that. Because like, I'm out of water, and like it really wasn't like thirst quenching in the first place. And now I'm just like, even though the AC is on full blast, I'm just here.
You're just dying.
I'm chill. I'm vibing. Slowly decomposing.
Okay, just hold your cup out. I'll pour it through the screen.
Oh yeah, true that.
Yeah.
Oh
Here you
no,
go.
where'd you go? Oh.
But
in this episode of the Save It For The podcast, we get electrocuted.
yay!
Yeah, 5,000 subscribers. We both get tasered.
Oh yeah, no, that's happening.
We get tasered by the post-apocalyptic police.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
In the far future.
In the far future of 2085.
Yeah, that's a good approximate. Yeah. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds about yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, YouTube algorithm. Yeah, so yeah.
We'll be there in the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening to this on SoundCloud, we also upload it on YouTube. So if you want to check us out there, shameless self-promotion. Let's just take a moment to suck our own dicks.
Yeah, I can bend over that way.
Oof, yeah, I'm missing a few ribs myself. All right,
oh, yeah.
30-minute mark about 1 minute ago. How did we get here?
I don't recall. Right, that's right. Anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Well, what was I talking about? Oh, that's right. Anecdotal evidence. So yeah, people going back to the topic we were talking about. A lot of people are cheating to get, or not really taking the thorough route. And like with anything, it's a complex issue. I mean, a lot of people literally just don't have the time to do thorough work.
Oh shit.
You good?
I'm good. My mic just went like. I don't know how to describe it. It's just technical difficulties. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're back.
And we're back.
We're back.
So people are taking shortcuts. The reason I find that troubling, that's right. And again, the caveat is, some people just literally are doing too many things to really be thorough with work, which I understand, right? I mean, if if you're just, in my example, if you're doing ASB and you're in theater and you're, in comedy sports and you're doing classes and, you're doing X, Y, and Z, sometimes it's difficult to have to do all of those things. And, another example would be like this, one actor we used to have in uni theater arts graduated 3 years ago now. 2 years ago. He was.
I'm like taking notes right about now. Like, where do you live again?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Don't you fucker.
That should be your punishment. You can't be mad every time I say excuse me. That's
sure. I'm like clenching my own hands right now. By the end of if that becomes my punishment, by the end of this, I'm gonna like break 3 of my fingers.
I'm gonna be so polite, it's gonna anger you. Is that okay with you?
Sure it is, Newman. You absolute cunt. It's awesome with me.
Much. Now, please excuse me. I'm going to...
I'm like digging my nails into my arm right now. You have no idea how much this is frustrating me, Like, I'm like... whenever someone's nice to me, I'm like, no, don't be nice to me. Abuse me, you fucker. Like, I don't deserve your niceness. Conserve your energy by fucking beating me up or something like that. Shut up. Like...
Well, that's what you get for swearing, Aaron. Because we don't have a swear jar, so...
True that, yeah.
Maybe we should have a digital swear jar.
Honestly, I'm broke, so, like, before we have a swear jar, we should probably have, like, an actual, base of listeners.
Oh, yeah.
What a concept!
What a concept!
Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, like, my self-loathing aside, you were making a point there.
Oh, yes.
God.
What was I? God. I can't even see. This is what happens when
Oh,
two tiny
Uni
monkey
Theater
brains.
Arts.
Oh, that's right.
Actor.
Yeah, there was one guy who did mock trial, which like conflicted heavily with all of like the fall play stuff. So he in that situation, one has to take shortcuts in order to complete all the stuff they have to do. And even a tenured professor at UCI that I spoke with, like she, is like the dean of like the school and like she was talking to us, right? And she, even she gave, this 90% rule, as she called it, which was basically the idea of, always try 100%, but the thing that differs, uh, someone from going crazy from someone who can manage their work is the 90% rule, which is if you can get away with doing something at 90%, then do so, because that'll allow for exactly do it. It'll allow for
do it, Anakin.
Do it.
Procrastinate.
Do the
Procrastinate.
procrastinate. Meh.
I like how that's our go-to like evil person,
Our
Meh.
I'm evil.
Evil.
Evil is what I eat, breathe, and sleep.
I sexually identified as Doom.
Doom, yes.
Doom.
Reminds me
There was
of
the
the Bobby Danger of Brandon Rogers. Have you seen that?
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Brandon Rogers is a whole other topic we can.
Yeah, dude, Brandon Rogers is an entire topic. But yeah, it's circumstantial, and I'm tired of talking about the goddamn education system. Somebody do something about it.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's in character for us because we're both students right now, technically, and like we're still knee deep in that puddle of doo doo. So yeah, maybe that should be my punishment. I can't cuss for an entire Can of Worms episode while you're just there, just like taunting me with like fucks and shits and all over the thing.
Yeah, and then saying "excuse me" after every time
Yeah,
I say the word.
Yeah.
Like fuck, excuse me.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, it's too late. We already started the episode and I've already cussed, so it should be like it should be like, it should be like putting those rubber bands on a watermelon,
Oh,
like really
yeah.
have all the stuff in there so that it can explode eventually.
Yeah. Or like all those rubber bands on like a milk. Gallon of milk.
Yeah, there you go. And in this case, the milk is, all the bad vibes inside me that are surfacing through cuss.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you cussing with me? Are you cussing with? All right.
You cussing?
God, Fantastic Mr. Fox was such a substantial part of my childhood. But anyway.
Oh yeah, I just watched that recently.
Both the book and the movie. You just watched that? Did you not watch that before?
I didn't watch it until the just this past, I think, October or November.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude,
it was very good.
Dude, it was good. And I was actually surprised by the movie about how, like how fast-paced, comedic, like that kind of, that kind of humor.
Yeah.
That was in there because I essentially grew up with, Roald Dahl books. And, because the Turkish translations were sold in basically every school store ever. So, like whenever I went there with my parents, they were like, "Oh, yep, we're getting that," So yeah, I had like a bunch of stuff to read as a child.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Which translates with the problem of reading a book and then talking about it to a person. And then realizing you don't know the actual title of the book because all you've been reading is the Turkish translations. And now you have to play mind games. Like, what were the translators thinking when they were translating this? Because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of this person.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, because like they're like, oh my gosh, because some books out there have just like a translation that has no correlation whatsoever with the actual writing of the book. But that's an entire topic all by itself. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, I do, interestingly enough, again, in my humanities class, which I have remembered
oh
that
my
I've said on this podcast this
gosh, and
time.
I can't say
Um,
anything about it. Something bites me.
exactly. So excuse me, but in my humanities class, we were actually talking about the very concept of translation, in that, translation is very much in essence, translating something is basically almost transforming the work into a completely different, form of art. And the
Well,
reason I say
yeah,
that is because, like you have noted, it's very hard to translate nuances and very hard to translate, prose and like specific, syntax, because, you have to, the trouble with translating is, you can't just translate it literally, because then you remove the more artistic, part about it,
right.
because
Like
there's a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, right. Because there's a lot in art that very much has to do with style and like specific words that can't be translated because it's a colloquial term or something like that. Because, like how do you translate, lit into, I don't know, Spanish or something like that? Or how do you translate, let's see, what's another really English word? Like dank memes into, Turkish or something like that. I mean, I'm sure there is like a Turkish equivalent, but
okay. Here's the thing. Say meme right now.
meme,
Okay, you said meme, right?
right?
Okay, so thing is, when you say meme and write it and like look at it, like pronounce it in the Turkish sense, you know what you get? Now, okay, let's do an exercise right about now. Okay,
Ooh.
I swear this is gonna be a substantial part and
Mm.
an academic discussion
Oh yes.
for it's going to be used to incite academic discussion for generations when we're done with this exercise. Okay,
Oh yes. Oh
so
yes.
here's the thing: the way e is pronounced in Turkish is
Eh.
e.
Okay.
Now, and like every single letter, right, every single letter that doesn't have a sound on their own is connected to the sound that comes either before them or after them, right?
Okay.
So, for example, if you put an M in front of an E, you get me.
Mm-hmm.
Say it.
Meh.
There you go. And when you try to pronounce meme, it becomes.
Meme.
You just said titty.
Ah. I'm so glad I
I
did
know.
that.
Yep. That's the end of our that's the end of our exercise. I hope you managed to learn something
I
important.
did. I
Yeah,
did.
there you go.
I
Yeah.
realized that the Turkish equivalent of titty is very similar to Tagalog in that
Really?
so I'm in a family household right now, but I'll whisper it.
Oh, you'll whisper it. You'll
Yeah,
whisper it,
so
will you now?
so penis in Tagalog is tete,
Oh,
um,
yes.
and the vagina in Tagalog
Come
is
closer to the
pepe.
mic, Neiman. Come closer to the mic.
Oh yes,
Yes.
you can hear it. Yes, but those are the words, and it's very
The
reminiscent.
anti-ASMR rule is currently revoked.
That's right, because it's a Can of Worms episode. But it reminds me much of the meme experience, or exercise rather, that we just acted. Are you trying to make mouth sounds with your mouth? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm playing around with my mouth cheeks.
Oh, that's. I mean, I prefer those cheeks rather than the other ones. So.
Oop. All right. This is where it ends.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
like going back to the nature of
Speaking
translation.
of
Yeah, speaking of
translations,
that. Yeah, oh my gosh, it becomes so hard to go back to actual, like, topics after we fuck around like that.
yeah, because
It's
then we're
like,
like,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, anyway.
Right.
So it's like, it can actually be like a good mental exercise, because when you start talking about like serious like when you start being a part of a serious discussion for too long, your mind eventually gets like fried out and you can't go on anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when we put in like, like certain stuff in between them, even like, in the middle of them, it just, gives your mind a little time to take a break
That's
and
right.
just,
Yeah.
have a little laugh, or maybe cringe even.
Yeah, maybe a
In
little bit
our
of
case,
cringe. Right.
we never judge. We never judge here in the Save It for the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah. By the
That's
way,
right.
45-minute mark. I've been like staring at my stopwatch for like a few seconds now, and like it was weird because a part of my mind was like, okay, it is the 45-minute mark. We know it's the 45-minute mark. You should probably say it's the 45-minute mark. And on the other side, my mind was going, but is it though? So
Wow. There you go.
yeah, it's always a fun time when you have a tiny little stroke just in the middle of doing everyday stuff,
Yeah, those are just a few examples of some of the very complex decisions that Aaron Batu makes in his daily life,
Oh my gosh.
alongside what kind of tea should I make this morning, or
No,
should I drink water
I
right now?
actually normally like get a certain type of tea in the morning, so.
Okay, so that's not a decision you have to make.
Yeah, oftentimes I make like, more substantial, important, and, like mind-bogglingly sophisticated decisions, such as
Mm-hmm.
I can stop playing Minecraft and go drink some water, and that will probably help with my current physical and mental state of being. But do I really want to do that? So
Exactly, right.
so that kind of choices are usually, more of a thing that happens every day, because
Oh
I
yeah.
only have one type of tea in my house right now. That's a lie, actually. My dad actually brought by a new type of cardamom tea.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, fancy.
Have you ever had are you a fan of boba?
This is where the podcast ends.
So you're not, I take it then you're not a fan of boba.
No, I am not, and I don't want anyone to give me shit about it. Okay, like I know about. Oh my god, you don't like boba? What's wrong with you?
But please do explain yourself, culprit.
Here's the thing, right? And I need to put my leg on my goddamn desk because it's a frustrating gosh darn topic. So, like, this is actually kind of uncomfortable, but you know what? My foot is right there, and it gives me great joy just looking at it while I'm talking, because it reminds me of how I'm the stepping stone of everyone in my life. That became depressing real quick. Wow.
It's like, oh my god, I hope I'm not doing that. I was like, Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
Don't worry, guys. It's not that bad.
You were saying?
Yeah, I just said the first thing that came to mind. It's not that bad. Don't worry, y'all. Don't worry, y'all. But yeah, as I was saying, so I really don't like the idea of boba. Like, I can respect. I could respect boba if it didn't have those tiny little like fucking. Like, I don't like caramel testicles inside of my drink. Okay, I don't like them. Right, and the big old straw just throws me off every time. I'm like, and as soon as the caramel thing just hits my mouth, I'm like, what do I do with it now? Do I just swallow it whole? Do I chew it? Do I
That's funny,
what the fuck am I supposed to do in this situation?
Yeah.
And it's I don't like it. I don't like it. It's bad. Fuck you.
I get it. Yeah. You know, for me, boba for me was very much an acquired taste. I very much hated it when I first started drinking it. I was like, what's the appeal of this? I was like, you know, I was very much in a similar situation of like, why do people like this? It's like, you know, like you said, it's like literally, you know, why am I putting these squishy tapioca balls in my mouth? I mean, I can get those balls elsewhere. So, you know, I was like, why are we?
I get it.
Do you? So I was like,
say excuse me.
Oh,
When you make
excuse
a
me.
joke, there
Excuse
you
me,
go.
pardon
When you make a
me.
joke like that, because you know, as of my mental state isn't tormented
Right,
right
please
now. But
excuse me. Yeah.
please go on.
Please excuse me for making that joke, Aaron.
Oh, no problem, no problem at all.
Yeah, of course. So I was like, you know, why are we coupling these balls with, you know, tea? And I was like, you know, what? I really don't get it. And then I finally, you know, I found a boba that I actually liked. And I'm very much I'm also very much the kind of guy who always orders the same thing at restaurants just because I very much I don't want to say afraid. Afraid is a bad word.
You just take comfort in familiar things.
Right, exactly. Especially when it comes to food. Food, most of all, I'm very much kind of, you know, if I can eat, you know, grilled cheese for the rest of my life, I would have no problem with that whatsoever. Even if it's the same thing every day, I would be totally fine with that.
Dude. I'm just looking back at the time I spent in the Turkish school that I went to. And I'm just recalling each and every moment where I ordered the same goddamn thing, the chicken patty in a bun. And I've ordered that thing so much, just like the ladies in the cafeteria literally knew, like, it wasn't a cafeteria, sorry, it was a canteen. And they literally, because there was a cafeteria and there was a canteen, and you could get, like, you know, there was a daily menu in the cafeteria, and there was, you know, just a fixed menu in the canteen. But anyway, like, the ladies in the canteen literally knew me, and they, like, they saw me coming, and they were like, "Oh, yep, I got your order ready." And I was like, "Whoa, oh my gosh, how'd you know?" meanwhile, whenever. So yeah,
no.
Like, I get where you're coming from.
Right. Yeah. And
been there,
you know, I used to and I used to do that too when I was in elementary school. And yeah, I mean, I would totally be fine with that. And I totally forgot now what we were talking about right before we were talking about food. Comfort, familiar things.
No, I'm pretty okay. Let me use my big brain energy to retrack our steps, right? Oh gosh, what was going on? I'm getting there we go.
Excuse me.
It makes me mad that you're such a nice guy and I'm not.
This is your punishment. It's your punishment.
All right.
But please excuse that punishment. All right, it's just
you fucker.
It's just please excuse me for punishing you. I don't mean it, Aaron.
It's literally sucking up my mental energy as well.
I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, stop.
This is great.
This fucking hell. I deserve this.
Oh, man.
I cussed in the presence of my tangerine. I deserve this.
Yeah. Tangerines are sacred objects.
I know, right?
It goes God, angels, then tangerines.
But yeah, what were we talking about before I get an aneurysm about how nice you are?
I remember talking about how I took comfort in familiar things. Were we talking about food?
No, we were talking about boba. No, okay.
Boba, that's
There we
right.
go.
Boba,
Okay,
yeah. Okay,
we
boba.
talked about how, we joked about how my decisions in life were such important things.
That's
And
right.
then, like, somehow the discussion evolved into tea, and then it evolved into food. And now we're here. There we go. Big brain energy,
Big
boys.
brain. Oh goodness,
Oh,
yeah.
man. My life can be divided into two sections. The part where I brag about having big brain energy, and the part where I, make self-loathing jokes about having a tiny monkey brain. Tiny monkey brain.
Yeah, and you know what? Making tiny monkey brain jokes is a very big brain move, if you ask me.
Yo, that's such a big brain moment right there, bruh.
Brit, brit, brit,
Bruh.
brit.
Have I finally evolved from a hembo to a
Yes.
Oh, man. You're going to the chat. I can't even make the joke.
It's too
You're going
much.
to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
My God. My God.
Oh my gosh. Let's just not even get into like serious topics for the rest of the episode. Let's just fuck around. Like.
Speaking of education,
Have I mentioned? I was going to talk about the socioeconomic situation over in the
Oh, that's
European
right.
Union.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh
I was
my
going to
gosh.
talk about the current situation in Turkey. Yeah, exactly.
Silivri soğuktur. Anyway, so yeah.
Yes. Eat the rich.
Eat the
I'm going
rich.
to assume that's what you said. Was it?
It's like kind of an inside joke.
Oh, okay.
Because there's like a jail in the what was it? It's not province. It's like a district, or not even a district. There's a place in Turkey called Silivri, and there's a jail in that place that essentially has all the journalists and the political prisoners and whatnot. And like what I'm saying right now is, Silivri soğuk, or Silivri is cold. So like kind of reminding you, that place is cold. It's never a good time to visit. It's not a good time in the year to visit it, so so yeah, it's kind of an inside joke over in the Turkish sense. But enough about inside jokes about authoritarian regimes. Let's make inside jokes about authoritarian regimes. So the bunker boy seems to be getting all up in people's grill. Okay.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah, so
I am exhausted right about now. The AC is sucking up all the air and just recycling it, and everything is becoming stale.
Oh man.
Like, this episode is gonna end when I like collapse onto my laptop. You know?
And I'll just keep going.
Yeah, you'll just keep going. You'll just keep monologuing.
Yeah, exactly. The audience won't know.
The audience won't. Yeah, as far as they're concerned, this is just another moment where Neiman brags about being in
ASB,
being in ASB, or taking a humanities class.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Fuck it, man. I mean, fuck it. Fuck it. Yeah.
This has been.
We haven't even hit the hour mark. Yay!
Oh, okay,
No. Let's actually start the outro right about now so that we can end right in the hour mark.
Great.
And it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit-in. It's gonna be amazing.
At exactly 60 minutes.
At exactly, I can't even pronounce anything because I'm having a strong. Anyway, so it's
been amazing seeing you start from like the top and slowly descend into madness as this hour has gone by.
My brain is slowly becoming mush as we carry on with the podcast. But this has been the 5th episode of the Can of Worms episode of the Save It for the Podcast.
Yes. Please send us questions.
You can send us questions on Neiman will tell you where.
Please send us questions either via email. Please comment on SoundCloud or on our videos. If you want to say hi,
Why don't you
ask
like,
us what-
comment, and subscribe?
Yeah,
And
comment.
Save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Go ahead and like our Instagram page as well.
Yeah, all that,
All that. Yeah, there you go.
all that
If
stuff.
you're listening on SoundCloud, please support us at YouTube's. If you're listening at the YouTube's, please support us at SoundCloud's and hey Neiman, guess what?
And
So
Instas.
end the episode in 5. End the episode in 4.
Oh
end
my
the episode in
God.
3.
Goodbye,
end the episode,
everyone.
end the episode right now.